back to Regular Secular Mama. If you are new here, my name is Cassie Roberts, and I'm a homeschooling mom to 2 kiddos, currently ages 11 and 8 years old. If they were in public school, they would be around 3rd and 5th grade. Before we go any further, it helps me out so much if you go down and hit that thumbs up button, and be sure to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any new videos. I have been excited about doing this video for a long time now. Recently, I posted a video where I kind of flipped through Paragraph Town from Michael Clay Thompson and showed how I was getting ready to teach that to my daughter. So there was a lot of interest, and I'm really excited about using Michael Clay Thompson and how well it has gone this school year. So I wanted to make this video to kind of break down how to use Michael Clay Thompson books, or at least how we have been using them, and kind of give you like an overview of the language arts program. So first of all, you might be wondering whether or not Michael Clay Thompson language arts books are going to be a good fit for you and your family. I'm going to share some of my pros and cons when it came to using these books in our homeschool. First, the pros. Number one, they are thorough and rigorous, but they are also very approachable. So they're mostly written in a narrative format, at least these early levels are. And so both of my kids love being read to, and they really soaked in, that storytelling, cuddle on the couch, read together type of schooling. Also, a huge pro for me was the fact that Michael Clay Thompson does not shy away from using proper terminology when it comes to like grammar concepts and things. We used another grammar program in the past, which I'm not going to talk about here. I'll compare them in another video. But one thing that I noticed after going through the first, I think, level or two of using that grammar program, there were grammar concepts being introduced and described using words that aren't like standard terminology for grammar. I'm no grammarian, but I didn't want to teach, that a subordinating conjunction is called something else. I didn't really like that. So I like that in Michael Clay Thompson, he uses all the correct terms, and at first it sounds a little overwhelming. And you might think like, gosh, my kid's like 7, 8 years old. How is he gonna know what a subordinating conjunction is? Well, they do a really good job of building up to those advanced concepts. So for the cons, the most obvious con, and the one you probably have noticed if you've even glanced on their website, is that it's very expensive, or it can be very expensive. Now you get free shipping and stuff, so that helps. It's kind of a chunk, to spend money on a grammar and writing curriculum. There are some ways that you can kind of bring that cost down though. There is a pretty good Facebook group that is like a buy, sell, trade kind of group for Michael Clay Thompson books. So that is one place that you can look. I have actually had better luck looking on eBay if I want a certain specific book, like just that one book. You just got to be careful that they're taking pictures of the actual book and not including like a website photo, because you want to make sure you're getting the edition that you want to get. Which leads me to another con, or kind of a con. It seems like Michael Clay Thompson is updating his books more frequently than you would think, which is fine. You just have to make sure you get the books that go together. If you were to get like the teacher edition and the student edition, you have to make sure they're the same year, I guess. I'm sure the difference isn't so big that you couldn't make it work. I haven't had that issue because I mostly stick to teacher books, but it's something to pay attention to. I also wanted to touch on really quick the teacher manual versus the student book. So they have a book package where you can get just the student manuals, and that saves you a little bit of money. I don't understand why they would do that. I think what the reason is they want you to be able to buy more student books if you're using this with more than one child and you want each child to have their own book. You don't need that, guys. You don't need that many student books. I'll show you inside a couple of these, but the teacher book is the student book, but with a couple more little notes and things in the margins. But the biggest difference is the teacher books have a teacher resource section in the back, and sometimes it's just a little bit of fluff, but some of the books have a pretty comprehensive teacher resource section. And I don't think you want to go without that if you're going to teach this as your sole writing and grammar curriculum. So just the way we've been using it, and in my opinion, you do not want to forego the teacher books, but I think you could definitely get away with only teacher books for both the island and the town level. I have not looked at the voyage level yet, though. We'll be ready for that next year, and we are planning to use it. So, I mean, as soon as I get that, I'll look through it and make some videos too. Okay, so is this going to be a good fit for you and your kids and your homeschool? Well, if your kids like being read to, if they are fluent readers, now they don't have to be fluent readers. It makes it nice because there are lots of practice pages where they're going to need to read a sentence and then break down that sentence into different parts of speech and different phrases and clauses. So being able to read fluently does help. However, we used it just fine with my son, who at the time we began the island level was not quite a fluent reader. He was still not quite there yet. I would say he's pretty much fluently reading now, which does make it easier, but it is doable when they're younger. You can do things like breaking down, analyzing the practice sentences together. You could do it on a whiteboard together or just sit there with them and do it in their book. So being a fluent reader definitely helps, but it's not the end of the world. This language arts program is advertised as a gifted program. It is easy enough to tailor this to your kids and your school. It's a very easy program to do at your own pace, especially because it's like a narrative format. You can simply sit there and read a page or two at a time with them and just really discuss it together until they get it and then move on. You don't have to like do one lesson or one chapter per week, or else you fall behind. You know, it's very loose in the sense that you can go at your own pace and you don't feel like you're behind or missing anything. I can attest to doing it both ways. With my daughter, we decided to kind of cram in island level and town level in 1 year, just because island level was a little bit young for her, and town level, I just didn't want her to like miss anything or have any information fall through the cracks. So we did do both levels in 1 year, or we are going to finish 2 levels in 1 year. And it worked fine. We just went a little bit quicker through the island level because it was fairly simple for her. And we're probably going at about a steady pace in the town level so far. And then with my son, because he wasn't fluently reading yet, because he is kind of young, he's not gifted in language arts at least, and he's also very fidgety and has short attention spans, we went very, very slowly, unless he was very interested in it. The Sentence Island book, he loved that book. Like, he would ask me, please read some more, please read some more. I think we read like a week's worth of what I thought we were going to read in one sitting because he just loved it so much. So, like I said, it's easy enough to tailor the pace you're going at depending on what your child needs. All right, so you have all of your beautiful new books that came in the mail. What do you do with them? It can be a little overwhelming to just get this huge pile of beautiful books in the mail and not really know like where to start or how it's structured. So I will link down below to the website where you purchase these, and there is a kind of a loose general guide on how to use these lower levels in your homeschool and like how to move through the books. So I'm not going to rehash what's already been said on the website. I will just tell you how we went through the books. I may have already said, or maybe I didn't, that we don't use all the pieces to the language arts program. That is one way I was able to save money on the program. It was also, I didn't want to overwhelm us with stuff. So I showed the kids the books on the website and pictures and any videos I could find, which there aren't very many, which is why I'm making this. I told them that the poetics component was optional. If they wanted to do it, I would buy it for them. If they didn't want to do it, it was fine. We already memorized some poetry and we read poetry here and there, so I wasn't too concerned with diving into like studying poetry. I figured that is something that they can pick up later if they want to. We also did not get the literature components because we have a whole list of literature read-alouds that go along with history. I am not planning on adding on any more read-alouds than I already have. So we didn't do the poetics, we did not do the literature. So we did everything else. We did the grammar book, we did the composition/writing book, the practice book, and then I did go ahead and get the vocabulary because Latin is something that I was interested in myself and something I think will really benefit them in the future. So I thought we would try it. And my daughter seemed to enjoy the first level of the Latin/vocabulary book, so I thought we would just continue it until I don't see a use for it anymore. So here's just like a quick run through of how we moved through these 2 levels. Michael Clay Thompson recommends, and I agree, to always start with grammar because everything in this program kind of is taught in the context of grammar. So this is really an essential component to, if you're going to do Michael Clay Thompson, you have to do the grammar. So we started with Grammar Island. This is the very first level, the very first book you will want to start with. If you are going to just dip your toes in and try a little bit of Michael Clay Thompson to see if you like it, this is the one book you need. This is the one you would get. You would start with this anyway, so you might as well just get this one, and then if you like it, you can get, the other books. So this is Grammar Island. This is not as much of a story as the writing component is, but there are some cute little short stories in this. It's more like reading through a lesson together and discussing different points, and then there are little stories and activities sprinkled in. This book is one that has just a few pages in here where in the teacher book you have the answers, and in the student book they would see this but without the answers. In my opinion, this book didn't have enough in it for the student to do and not see the answers that I felt the need to buy a student book. Actually, some of these I just kind of like wrote out on a piece of paper or a whiteboard and had them practice that way. Or I just put a piece of paper on and covered it up and asked them verbally, orally, to tell me what the answers were. And that worked totally fine for this book. I really don't think you need the student book for this. Everything that's taught in Grammar Island is going to give kids the tools that they need to do what he calls 4-level sentence analysis. And all that means is that when given a sentence, they are going to be able to eventually break that sentence down into the parts of speech. So nouns, verbs, adjectives, things like that. And then as soon as they are comfortable with parts of speech and they really understand all, I think it's 8 parts of speech, they would begin the Practice Island book. And that is this one right here. So this is the one you will need the student version of this. I guess you could write these out on a whiteboard or a piece of paper, but I think it was worth the $12 to just get the book that already has all the sentences in it. You don't have to sit here and try to make copies or do it together on a whiteboard. They can just do it in their own book. And of course, the teacher book has the exact same thing, but with all the answers and also commentary on, notes on the sentence. So this is one that they would start after they're comfortable with parts of speech, and they would continue doing a sentence a day all the way through until you're ready for the town level. So the next part then is labeling the parts of the sentence. So this is the subject, the predicate, direct object, subject complement, things like that. And then the third level, or the third thing they're going to break down, is phrases. So in Island level, they only cover prepositional phrases, and I think that's just to get kids used to the idea of phrases, how they function in a sentence. They do not get into any other kind of phrases until the town level. And then, of course, they are going to look at clauses. So in the Island level, again, they keep it really simple, just introducing the idea of a clause and what it is, and they only cover independent clauses. All right, so for my daughter, what we did is as soon as she was done with Grammar Island, we started on Sentence Island. Sentence Island is the composition writing component of Michael Clay Thompson Language Arts. As the title suggests, this level focuses entirely on sentences. So they're looking at what makes a sentence, what makes a sentence wrong and what breaks a sentence, and also how to make a sentence good. So it's not just writing correct sentences, but how to make sentences that flow nicely and that sound good and that emphasize the points that you're trying to make when you write a sentence. So I like that. I like that it doesn't just say this is a good sentence and this is a broken sentence. They go into a lot of detail in what makes a nice sounding sentence and why it sounds nice. This one is really fun because this is a story. It is an entire narrative that follows this character, Mud the fish, and he arrives at this island and befriends all these different animal characters who show him different aspects of writing a good sentence. It's just really cute. It's really well done. The pictures are lovely and it's funny. There's a lot of dry humor in here that I really appreciate. Actually, I think my favorite character is a tree, and the tree's name is Fow. It talks about sound and how sound is important in writing good sentences. So I just thought that was funny that the tree's name is a sound. So anyway, it's really cute. And then the end of the book is a teacher section, which would not be in the student book. And for each chapter, there's a little summary of concepts that are covered in that chapter. There are also some little writing activities you can do. Some of these are more geared toward a group, like if you were in a classroom. We certainly didn't do all of these. We did a few of them, just the ones that sounded interesting or that I thought might help her really practice what she was learning in the book. And then there are usually one or two 4-level analyses. So it's just like the Practice Island book, except it specifically focuses on the subject of that chapter. I think she was about halfway through this book, or maybe a little bit further, when we started the vocabulary component. We started building language. In building language, they teach vocabulary from the stance of using Latin stems and what those stems mean and how to recognize those stems in English or sometimes Spanish. There's a little Spanish sprinkled in here. And that kind of lays the groundwork for being able to build up to upper level academic language. So this is a very simple, easy introduction to using Latin stems. I believe there are only 10 stems in here that they're learning. And for each lesson, they learn a new stem, what it means, what kind of words they're used in. And then each lesson has a poem or a simile that the kids are asked to write using that stem. So this was kind of fun and easy to go through. It didn't take her very long at all. And actually my son was so intrigued by this, watching my daughter make her flashcards, that he wanted to jump into this moment he was done with Sentence Island. So he's already started this one. I had her use one of these index card boxes, and she just made an index card for each stem that she was learning. So here's an example. She just, put the stem on the front and then the meaning on the back. And I think, she also did a word. You can see that. A word that uses that stem just as an example. So for whatever reason, my son saw her doing this and was very excited to make his own flashcards. Okay, so like I said, for her, we were squeezing 2 levels into 1 year because this was very easy for her. I wouldn't say it was babyish at all. She really enjoyed the story, but I think it was written to a kid, a little under her level. So we kind of breezed through this island level. All right, like I said, when we were maybe halfway or 2/3 of the way done with Sentence Island, we added in building language. So these were done concurrently for a little while until she finished this book. So as soon as she was done with this book, she was still doing this book, okay? She was still working through this. I don't know, she was maybe like halfway through this when we started grammar for the town level. As always, you start with grammar for each level. So while, she was finishing up this, we started working through this. And once she got through reviewing the parts of speech, which it only took like a week, like this was basically just review, then she switched from Practice Island. Okay, remember these are the practice sentences they've been doing every day all along, to Practice Town. Okay, there's the teacher manual and the student manual. So this is hers, this is mine. Same thing, it just has sentences in it with the blank lines, and this has the answers. It looks the same as this, but of course, the sentences are a little harder and include the new grammar concepts. So we're plugging along, working our way through here while she's doing building language and while she's doing one sentence a day from Practice Town. Then once we got to this section, we got to phrases and we kind of got stuck just a little bit, because going through the parts of speech and the parts of a sentence in this book was all review. There was nothing really new. However, they have added in some new phrases. So in addition to prepositional phrases, they're learning appositive phrases and also 3 different kinds of verbals: infinitives, participles, and gerunds. I do think that verbals were kind of sprung on her. She wasn't really ready for like 4 new kinds of phrases with words that are not used in everyday language, like gerund and participle. So what we did is we set this book aside for 1 week, okay? And I got on the internet and I just found some simple practice grammar pages that we spent 1 week. We really dove deep into each different kind of verbal, and I think she's got it now. So after we got more comfortable with phrases, we move right along to more clauses. Just full disclosure, this is as far as we have gotten so far in Michael Clay Thompson. They are going to talk about simple and compound sentences, which is not totally new because in the island level there were sentences joined by conjunctions. And then they also talk about subordinating conjunctions and dependent clauses. Again, Grammar Town has a small instructor section in the back. This one, it doesn't have a lot. I don't think Grammar Island had a ton in the teacher section either, but there are lots and lots of practice sentences sprinkled into each chapter. This was the first book that I looked at and I thought maybe I should have a student book for this. The copyright policy says you can't make copies of pages in here. So I have been just writing them on a whiteboard, and we mostly do the practice sentences from this book together, and then she can practice on her own in this one, the Practice Town. Do I wish now that I had gotten the student book for this? No, I think we're still doing fine without the student book, but I am betting, without even looking at the voyage level that comes after town, that we're gonna want all the student books, I think. This is one that you just have to decide how much you're willing to, write out these sentences and do them together, or if you really want them to just do them in the book or make copies of the book so that they can do it on their own. Okay, so remember that she was working through building language when we started Grammar Town. Probably about the time we got through reviewing the first 2 sections of this book, she finished this book. I think it works just fine to do the Latin and vocabulary along with grammar and writing. I don't think you could do the grammar and the writing components together or concurrently. That would just be overwhelming. As soon as she finished this one, we went ahead and picked up Caesar's English 1, which is the town level. So this goes along with the town level. And I went ahead and got the student and the teacher book. So the student book is broken apart into 2, so they're a little more manageable to like carry around and put in their drawers and things. And then the teacher book comes all together in 1 volume. So it's the same size as this, just, together. So now we are working through Caesar's English 1 and Grammartown concurrently while she does one sentence a day from this on her own every day. Okay? It sounds like a lot, but Island Level really laid the groundwork for being able to use these components together now in the Town Level. Can I do the same thing with my son when he's ready for Town Level? Probably not. His attention span is like this big. So we'll probably do a much slower pace. I don't know if we'll be able to do 2 books concurrently, like Latin and grammar, but we're just gonna take that one book at a time with him. All right, so am I glad that I got the student books and the teacher book for this book? Yes, I am glad that I did that. I think just size alone, this is a little cumbersome to hand to her and expect her to take care of and go through when we're doing our lessons together. There are also, ooh, that's a long list. There are also cumulative quizzes for each lesson, and there are 20 lessons, so they really, build up after a while. But the quizzes are, of course, in the teacher book. There are a few little things sprinkled in. I think for each lesson, there's a grammar page just to kind of refresh their memory. And then it also includes some of the Latin vocabulary that they're learning. So this, of course, has the answers, and then the student book doesn't. So it helps a lot. I didn't have to fiddle with it at all. It made my life easier. I think the student books were like $30 for the not color version, the black and white version, and that was worth it to me. So your mileage may vary. The next book in the Town Level is Paragraph Town. Once this book is complete, we move into this book. Of course, the title tells you that this level, the Town Level, focuses on paragraphs. What makes a paragraph a paragraph? What makes it a good paragraph? All the things that you need to keep in mind when writing a paragraph. This is the one that I went through in that other video of mine, which I'll put up here. So I'm not really going to flip through it that much. That video, I think, did a really good job flipping through it. This is another one where it was kind of like borderline. Maybe I should have gotten the student book. Was I able to make it work without the student book? Yeah, it was fine. Would it make your life easier? Yeah, it'd make your life a little easier. I feel like the Town Level is like that. Like it's kind of starting to get to the point where student books are helpful, but not totally necessary if you really need to save some money. And then, of course, we'll still be working through this, and she'll still be doing one sentence a day from here. Okay, let's take a breather. I feel like that was a lot of information. Like if you are serious about getting Michael Clay Thompson, you're gonna need to rewind this and like take some notes. So I have the catalog that they sent to me. So I just wanted to show you kind of what all the components are that go with each level. I mean, you can look on the website, but I'm here talking, so I'm gonna talk about it. So here's the Island Level. These are the books I already showed you. There's Grammar Island and the practice books, Building Language, Sentence Island. The things I did not get were Music of the Hemispheres, which is the poetics component, and then the Mud Trilogy, which is the literature component. As far as I know, this is the only literature part that Michael Clay Thompson wrote himself. For the Town Level on up, all the literature is, you basically get an annotated version of a classic like Treasure Island, Call of the Wild, and The Invisible Man, I think are the 3 that come with the Town Level. So the Mud Trilogy is actually written by Michael Clay Thompson. Just because we enjoyed Sentence Island so much, I'm tempted to buy the Mud Trilogy just for fun. I don't know. If I find it used, maybe I'll grab it, but I don't know. It just looks really, really cute. Anyway, so here's the package. Yeah, the homeschool package with all the teacher books and all the student books and everything and the literature for the Island Level is $245, according to this catalog. For the Town Level, this page just has all the stuff that I already showed you. They do have these flashcards. They're not part of the homeschool package, by the way. I think you get a discount on them if you get the package, but she enjoys making them herself anyway, and they can, be artistic with them. So we didn't get that. And this is the poetics component for the town level. We're not doing the poetics. And these are the annotated classics, the literature component. I believe you also get, you get a parent manual when you buy the package of literature books. Okay, so the package, the complete homeschool package with all the teacher books and all the student books and the literature books for the Caesar's English in Color is $305. The complete package with Caesar's English in black and white is $280. And then they have the student books only, which I don't think you want the student books only. Like if you only had student books and no teacher books, that probably wouldn't end well. So at best, $280 for the whole package. I still think you can save some money by not getting the student books for the town level. I think it was totally doable. It wasn't that much extra work for me to put together for her. However, the voyage level, I haven't looked at the price yet on the voyage level. Okay, it's the same. It's $280 for the complete voyage level homeschool package with the teacher books and the student books. As much as I don't want to spend the money, I think I'm just going to bite the bullet and get it. And they're reusable, obviously. If you have multiple kids, you can use them for your next kid. They also have a high resale value, even though they get updated regularly. Everybody wants the newest edition of something, but they still seem to hold their resale value very well. So that's something to consider. Oh, man. I feel like that was a lot. I hope that wasn't too much. I hope I didn't overwhelm anyone, but I wanted to be very thorough on what we used and how we used it and why we did it that way. As far as my plans for Michael Clay Thompson, at this point, I really like the way it's structured. I like the way everything is taught in the context of grammar. I like the way grammar is taught with proper terminology, so there's no confusion there. And I am planning to follow through with the early levels, so the island level, then the town level, and then we will continue with the voyage level. Unless something crazy happens, that's my plan with both the kids. Will I continue after that with the upper levels of Michael Clay Thompson? I have no idea. I try not to plan too far ahead because it always winds up changing. If you made it this far, thank you so much. I hope that was not too overwhelming or too much information. I hope you got something out of this. I know there's not a whole lot out there on YouTube on Michael Clay Thompson, so I just wanted to make sure I got enough information out there for the person who really wants to hear it all. And I'll definitely be filming some more flip-throughs and some updates later on how it's going so far. But like I said, we have been using this since the beginning of this school year, which for us was about July, I think, of 2021. So we've been at it for about 6 months now, and it has been a really good fit for us, even though we're not language arts gifted exactly, even though, one of my kids is very bouncy. As always, it helps me so much if you found this useful or helpful. Give this video a thumbs up and please consider subscribing. There's a notification bell that you can hit down below that will get you a notification every time I post a new video. And thank you so much for watching. Bye!
We added in Build Your Library. Oh my gosh, I have books everywhere.